The who, what, when, where, and how of consciousness. So today, we are going to talk about the self. You might think there is nothing to it, just some neural firings in your brain. But you can also think of yourself as all the places you have been, everything you've experienced, and everyone you've loved. So what exactly is this thing we call self? Or more to the point, where is it? If you were to ask any philosopher over the past 2,000 years, they would probably say the self is in your head. And sure, if you feel like you are in two places at once when you get a paper cut on one finger, immediately pull both hands away, then maybe that idea makes sense. But let's not be so quick to take anything for granted. There are other ideas out there too. First, we have global workspace theory. This theory proposes that the brain is the theater of the mind, and that consciousness arises from activity in the prefrontal cortex, which serves as the stage where information from different brain regions is integrated and broadcasted widely. This explains why damage to this area can result in dramatic changes in awareness and behavior. However, it leaves unanswered questions regarding how exactly this global broadcasting works. Next, there is higher order theory, which suggests that consciousness comes from the brain's ability to represent its own states. In other words, your brain processes information on two levels. First, there is the lower level, where it processes sensory inputs and other information. And second, there is a higher level where it becomes aware of the first level processing. This higher order of processing gives rise to conscious experience. B. If you are still scratching your head, wondering how all of this happens in your brain, don't worry, because we have integrated information theory. This theory argues that consciousness arises from the complexity of information processing in a system. It proposes that the more integrated and interconnected a system's information is, the higher its consciousness. This means that a system with highly integrated information across different parts would be more conscious than one where information is more segregated. However, IoT also faces challenges. Measuring integrated information is mathematically complex. Axiomatic quantum field theory attempts to solve this problem by proposing that conscious experience is a fundamental property of the universe, just like mass or charge. This means that consciousness is a feature of reality itself rather than an emergent property of complex systems. This theory builds on the idea that everything in the universe is composed of fields, and that these fields interact with each other to give rise to particles and forces. By applying the principles of quantum mechanics to these fields, axionic quantum field theory aims to explain the emergence of conscious experience from the underlying physical reality. But if you thought that was mind-bending, integrated information theory takes it a step further. Integrated information theory goes beyond IIT by proposing that consciousness is not limited to individual systems, but is actually a fundamental property of reality itself. According to IIT, the universe is a single conscious system, and everything in it, including humans, animals, and possibly even machines, are all connected through this universal consciousness. This means that all beings are part of a greater whole, and that individual consciousness is ultimately an illusion. Despite the radical implications of these theories, they still leave one big question unanswered. They don't tell us where consciousness is located. These theories are like trying to understand a play without ever stepping foot in the theater. Sure, you can read the script, but it's not the same as seeing the actors bring the story to life on stage. You don't know what it feels like to be there in the moment and experience the emotions and atmosphere firsthand. This is where the idea of Panpsychism comes in. Panpsychism is the view that consciousness or mind-like properties are present throughout the universe and in everything. This means that everything from rocks to trees to humans and potentially even the universe itself possesses some form of consciousness or awareness. But what does this really mean? If everything has consciousness, then what sets us apart from other things? And how can we be aware of the universe if we are a part of it? If we accept that everything has consciousness, then the idea of a self becomes very complicated. We can no longer think of ourselves as individual and separate from the world around us, but rather as interconnected with everything else. This raises the question of how we can experience our own consciousness. If it is constantly being bombarded by the consciousness of everything around us, are we always just experiencing the combined consciousness of the universe and not our own individual consciousness? Panpsychism is a difficult concept to wrap your mind around because it challenges our fundamental understanding of what it means to be conscious. If everything is conscious, then what does that say about the nature of reality and the universe itself? And if we are all interconnected through this universal consciousness, then what does that mean for our sense of identity and individuality? Some might argue that if we accept panpsychism, then the concept of a self becomes meaningless. We are just one small part of a much larger whole, and our individual experiences and perspectives are not really our own. Rather, they are a combination of the experiences and perspectives of everything around us. But others might argue that this is precisely what makes us who we are. Our individual experiences and perspectives are shaped by our interactions with the world around us, and it is through these interactions that we develop our unique identities. So, where exactly is the self? The answer may not be as simple as you think. It could be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. It could be in your brain, or it could be in your experiences. It could be in the connections you make with others or in the things you love. Ultimately, the answer may depend on how you define the self. Now, if you want to learn more about this, I highly recommend reading David Chalmers' book, The Conscious Mind. It is a great introduction to the topic and covers many of the ideas we discussed today in much more detail. Additionally, you may enjoy exploring other resources on the subject, such as the work of Bernardo Kastrup and the idea of the participatory universe. In fact, you know what? Why don't you go ahead and check out our previous video on Bernardo Kastrup's ideas? We discuss his controversial view that we are all gods and the universe is a projection of our minds. It's a wild ride, but definitely worth checking out if you're interested in pushing the boundaries of your understanding of reality. And hey, while you're at it, why not subscribe? We release new videos every week, exploring the most fascinating and cutting-edge ideas in philosophy, science, and theology. So there's always fresh content waiting for you. One of the things we talk about in that video is the idea that we are all connected through a kind of universal consciousness. This idea is a key part of what some call the new materialism. New materialism is a philosophical movement that challenges the traditional view of matter as inert and lifeless. Instead, new materialists argue that matter is deeply connected to mind and consciousness, and that it is through our interactions with the material world that we give rise to our own conscious experience. This raises some interesting questions about the relationship between mind and body, as well as the nature of consciousness itself. If our interactions with the material world give rise to consciousness, then what does that say about the mind-body problem thing? And if consciousness arises from our interactions with matter, then what is the role of the material world in creating our conscious experience? These are some of the big questions the philosophers are grappling with today, as they try to understand the nature of reality and our place in it. It is an exciting time to be alive and to be thinking about these questions, because we are living in a time of incredible scientific and technological advancement. We now have the ability to study the brain and the universe in ways that were never before possible. For example, advances in neuroscience have given us an unprecedented understanding of how the brain works and what happens in the brain when we experience things like pain, pleasure, love, and hate. Meanwhile, advances in cosmology and astrophysics have given us a deeper understanding of the nature of space, time, and the universe itself. And yet, despite these advances, there are still so many things that we do not understand about the nature of reality and our place in it. This is where the work of contemporary philosophers is so important. They are pushing the boundaries of our understanding and exploring the deepest and most fundamental questions about the nature of existence. It is a daunting task, but it is also an incredibly exciting one. Who knows what discoveries await us? What other secrets of the universe are just waiting to be uncovered? The more we learn, the more we realize how little we know. And that's what keeps us going. That's what drives us to keep asking questions and searching for answers. Because the truth is, we are all like little children in a sense. We're all curious about the world around us, and we want to understand it as deeply as we can. And that's a good thing. It's a sign that we are alive and that we care about the world around us. So don't ever stop asking questions. Don't ever stop searching for answers. Because the truth is out there, and it is worth knowing. Now, I don't know where you are in your journey of discovering the truth, but I do know that you are on the right track by watching this video and learning about different ideas and theories. Keep up the good work and never give up on your search for understanding. The world needs people like you who are willing to think deeply and critically about the world around them. So thanks for being one of those people, and thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. Subscribe to stay up to date on our latest videos. And as always, thanks for watching.